I'm Bob Stern. This is a podcast that we've decided to start to sort of notify our friends and others about what's going on in the Department of Sustainable Earth System Science at the University of Texas at Dallas. Now, why are we doing this? Well, number one, I'm handicapped. I don't come in, but I like to be involved. And I thought this was an extremely good way to stay involved, not only with our students, but also with our alumni and anybody else that's interested in what we're doing. We now have this technology. It's easy to do that. We've got an excellent producer. Anna Z is recording this and will take care of all of the editing chores. And we're open to a wide range of possibilities for topics that we could talk about. But because we are a Department of Sustainable Earth System Science, we want to talk about our most important product. And our most important product is our students. So I'm proud and pleased to introduce Mr. Wes Brown to you today. Wes, can you say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Wes Brown. I'm a senior undergraduate student in the Sustainable Earth Systems Science Department here at UTD. I'm also the student lab tech in the microimaging lab, and happy to be here.
Great, thank you. So you are on the Dean's list for fall 2024. Can you tell us what you have to do to get on the Dean's list?
Sure. So to make the Dean's List, you must be within the top 10% of students in your school at the university, which for us is the Natural Sciences and Mathematics School. And it's based on your semester GPA. So in the fall 2024 semester, I finished with a 4.0 GPA, and that allowed me to make it on the list.
Excellent, congratulations, and thank you for making us look good. So
Well,
what's your advice for other students who want to get on the Dean's list?
my best advice would be to be mindful of your study habits, and in particular, I would recommend that you consult the latest literature in cognitive psychology and use the learning methods that researchers have spent years testing. Some examples of these would be stuff like spaced repetition, active recall, interleaving. I won't go in depth on these examples in this podcast. Feel free to do your own research, but I see a lot of students just taking notes and sort of rereading the notes over and over again. While that may work for some students, I think in general, there's a lot of really good methods and techniques out there that scientists spent a lot of time figuring out, and so you should use them. Um, Another piece of advice that I would give is to consider monitoring your screen time for certain activities. So young adults in today's like hyper-connected society are constantly living in a high stimulus environment with things like social media, YouTube, and video games always being like really easily accessible. And I'm a strong believer that limiting that usage and sometimes taking a complete hiatus has a very positive um, or has very positive benefits in allowing your brain's reward system to kind of reset. I've found that often a decrease in motivation at school and work can be like directly related to my increase in screen time. So that's more of a lifestyle thing, but it was a change that I made and something I decided to pay close attention to that had really good benefits for me. So.
Well, thank you. That's very good advice. So tell us about your family. I understand that you are a first generation college attendee. Can you tell us about this?
Sure. I was raised by two very hardworking parents. Neither of them went to college, but they valued education, and I always made sure I was staying on top of my studies. As I grew up, we sort of slowly moved from lower income areas to middle class neighborhoods. And I think watching them work their way up in the world instilled a certain degree of work ethic and discipline in me that I may not have had otherwise. When I first graduated high school, I had already been working part-time. So instead of going to college, I decided I'd start working full-time. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do yet, and I had always heard about how expensive college is, so I figured I would just save up as much money as I could and revisit the college option later. Um, at the time, I didn't know anything about FAFSA or Pell Grants, so when I eventually decided to go back to school, it was a bit of a learning curve, applying and filling out student aid, enrolling in the right classes, all that kind of stuff. And I had to spend some time, doing research on my own, but it was also exciting, and I enjoyed learning about it.
Thank you. I
Mhm.
understand that you did your first 2 years at a community college. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So I went to San Antonio College for my first 2 years, where I got my associate's degree in biology. And looking back, I think it was one of the best decisions I made because it really allowed me to just get my feet wet and explore my interests at a relatively low cost. Um, I always also appreciated that the classes were pretty small, and that gave me an opportunity to connect with the professor a little more. I had a biology professor that I would meet with outside of class every couple weeks, just to talk about topics I was interested in. And it was through a series of those conversations that he recommended I consider studying geoscience in the future.
Well, that sort of takes us to the next question. Why did you become a geoscience major?
Yeah, so that is when my interest peaked, is when I was in community college. When I transferred to UTD, I wasn't fully committed to the idea of pursuing geoscience yet, so I selected it as a minor to see what it was all about. But after my first course and having spent some time around the department, I quickly realized that it was where I needed to be. I think the environment of the department is very unique as well, and that played a big role.
Cool. We're very happy that you found a home with us. What do you enjoy most about being at UTD?
I would say what I enjoy most about being at UTD is that it has a ton of opportunities for undergrad students to get involved in research. You just have to be proactive, show interest, and the professors will try their best to find a spot for you in a lab.
Yeah, that's good advice. I understand you'll graduate in the spring. What do you plan to do after you graduate?
Well, I was just recently accepted into a PhD program at the University of Iowa. So I plan to pursue my PhD there and hope to one day work as a professor and researcher.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you'll probably be doing for your PhD?
Sure. So I'll most likely be working with data from the Mars rover, Perseverance rover, on the early Martian crust, doing work in petrology and mineralogy.
Cool. So, my last question, any advice for Wes Brown of 4 years ago?
Yeah, I think the advice I would give my old self is don't think so much about the final destination. Just take a deep breath and appreciate the journey.
Cool. Well, we really appreciate you taking time to help us inaugurate our first UTD Department of Sustainable Earth System Science podcast. We don't know where this is going to go, but you've certainly gotten us off on a good first step. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.